School Boards has recently hired on Bob River, who was the Apple representative for the state of Alaska and the Pacific region, and certainly has, that's just one name of somebody that would really have a handle on what's really going on in technology and how that impacts both learning and preparing kids for careers. The other thing too that I did want to mention is that this whole idea of going back to the early learning, there are several Fortune 500 companies that are really collaborating on trying to be able to support more early learning opportunities because they realize how critical it is to children before they enter school. And then the last one I wanted to mention is whether or not UAA or the University of Alaska system was really part of this. Yeah. One of the things that has frustrated me the most over the last several years is truly the disconnect that we have between K-12 education and the university system. We basically have standards that are our K-12 standards, but they do not align with the expectations of the University of Alaska system. In other words, our high school graduation qualifying exam is not aligned with the university's AccuTaster tests. So we're basically testing kids to enter the university system on things that they haven't been required to learn because the K-12 standards don't really align with that. So I think it would be helpful to make sure that we make as much of that connection as possible, both for our kids going into the system, but even for our teachers that were trained in the university system, in terms of how they're going to be able to teach the kind of things and relate to the kids that they need to relate to. So
we've met with both UAA and APU, and they're very enthused about their involvement.
Okay. Well, like I said, that's just kind of one of those disconnects that we have to attack from a lot of different angles, and hopefully this will be one of those ways. So, thank you.
Mr. Birch brought up something that I think is a really good example of how we can either build or detract from the civic support I think we need without intending. And you mentioned how we track, if you track the school district budget against the city budget over the last 10 years. And one of my frustrations is that the assembly or some members always want to look at our entire budget versus a small portion of the city budget when tracking the two. And it just skews things. And I think if we're going to compare our entire budget, it should be the city's entire budget. And things like that where we speak and, all of us around the table know the shorthand stuff, but the public may not. I think we really have to be very careful of how we talk, whether we're talking about the assembly or whether we're talking about the school board. And make sure we say things in a way that don't improperly or unintentionally detract from the community support I think we need.
I hope that during this we have a very serious conversation about the restrictions and the constrictions that education in this country looks on federal mandates, state mandates, things that we don't have the ability to get around. And I would go back and use a perfect example of Crystal talking about the electrical outlet. The reality is it really would be simple if we were able to just say, let the electrician will put it in. But if an incident occurred and there was a short and someone was killed, and the investigation came back, the first thing they would be is, did you follow the rules? Did you pull the permit? Did you get it inspected? Was this safe? And that's what happens in education in this country. We have federal mandates and state mandates that we have no way to get around. And they're very expensive. When we try to compare ourselves to some of the other countries, and I honestly don't have a problem with that, but we have to understand that they're playing under totally different ground rules. Most of those countries don't mandate that every child is entitled to an education and will get an education. They monitor them fairly closely and have ways of luring them either into higher education or into vocational education, depending on the ability of the student. And we have mandates we have to meet. We have to transport kids to school in cabs. Rural Alaska, we transport to school in airplanes. Just things that we have to meet that are mandated in our education system, that if we were able to circumvent, we would be able to blow ourselves off the charts in how our kids could perform if you lower it down to where you're just basically working with the best of their best. But I think we need to be very open and recognize the fact that we have an obligation to educate every child that comes into the school. We have an obligation to take care of it, whether the parents want to or not. My favorite story was about an individual I sat on the board with that took his son out of the public school system because he was basically put on probation for 3 days because he was constantly late. He just couldn't get to school on time, and so we moved him into a private school. I asked him, I said, I don't understand, how did that solve the problem? Because the private school, they're not even going to waste time on him if you don't get him it. It's not their job to get him to school. So I would really like for us to spend some time getting an understanding of certain mandates that we have to meet and don't have a meeting around. Now, it's not that I have a problem with those mandates, but I just think the public needs a clear understanding of what some of the hurdles are that we work with, and we don't have a way to get around. And it's well and good as long as you're willing to do what's in your pockets if you need to continue to pay the bill that it takes to meet some of these mandates that we have to pay.
Maybe, Mr. Mayor, that's one of the areas that I think could help us summarize what those are in a little bit more understandable.
And I think that's probably a good idea. Keep in mind, though, I mean, when you look at some of these other countries, European, they're not short on regulations. I mean, people, if you talk to businesses in many of these countries, whether it's Scandinavian countries, the regulatory climate there is it's pretty intense, and I think it extends into all bases, education, business. So every one of our countries in the industrialized world has a pretty hefty set of rules and regulations that govern their activities. So ours may be unique in some areas and in other areas not, but it's worth looking at what are those challenges. And you know, some of the outcomes of this may well be that we're going to suggest legislative changes. We're going to suggest regulatory changes. Part of the outcomes might be that we have to have political action as well as internal action.
Thank you. I don't mean to be speaking a whole lot on this, but I'm actually very interested and very excited about all this, and I just want it to really do what you hope it will do. You know, just as school board members, we get a lot of training. We have the Association of Alaska School Boards, we have the Council of Great City Schools, we have the National School Board Association, and all of us regularly attend those conferences, and we get to hear what other districts are doing. We get to hear some of these speakers. A couple of them on here, you know, I've had the opportunity to listen to before. And so what I'm excited about is the fact that the community now can get to hear and understand, well, just like what Ernie's saying, you know, having those kinds of constraints and restrictions, but also really hearing more about what can be done and what some districts have been able to do. And I guess I just want to say that I was encouraged when you said that you really want to figure out some things that we really can do. And I think that's been our biggest challenge, is trying to figure out exactly what we can do here that has the community support behind it and really has more buy-in from business organizations, certainly a lot of other organizations. But what I don't want to see is that it turn out much like what I think the state's education plan looks like. And there is no meat to that. It is pretty much meaningless. I think it was 2 days, and I was part of that very big group that came together to work on that plan. And there were a lot of people with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of willingness to kind of get in there and do what it takes to really come up with some good things for Alaska, and it just never materialized. And so I don't want us to end up, you know, really putting a lot of this kind of effort into that, especially with the funds that you've raised for it. I mean, that's significant. It's really impressive. But I hope that we really do come up with some things that people will say, hey, we're going to do this. The flip side of that, though, is I look back on the mayor's task force on, this is Mayor Begich, on the obesity issue. And there were so many very prescriptive things in that it just absolutely became cost prohibitive. I mean, and the idea of things like making sure that we're now doing organized play during recess, you know, putting people on the playground to make sure the kids are doing exactly what they should be doing at recess, so that they're getting more exercise and more pointed exercise. So anyway, there was some overkill there in that respect, and of course the district said, well, we're just not going to go down that route. But I think we kind of have to have that balance of things that we can do and things that we probably can't. But like I said, I want to see it have some meat to it, to real factual, real specific ideas about what to do and how to really make it.
That's the goal.
Understand?
Two more people that quick, Ms. Plumpy,
But mine's real quick. I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to us all working together for our kids for a better process in education.
I've been working as an assembly member with the mayor, and as you all know, I attended your two-day education reform with Mr. McAdams, so I found it very interesting. What's exciting about this is Mr. McAdams said that what's driving a lot of reform was the business community that was sustainable, and this is what the mayor has been able to incorporate. And I think it's exciting, and I think it's an opportunity. One thing I did hear from the school board is getting the community to engage in conversation. That you feel that it's not really, it hasn't been out there. You can't really engage the community. And this, I think we've got a fantastic opportunity to do that with everybody sitting around here plus.